Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Counselor's Office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are back, well, with something new, actually. I am doing, for the first time in a while, an actual video about the first Descendant. I've been playing a lot, over 500 hours in this game, and we're going to do a tier list. This is probably going to be the week of tier lists, because I'm going to do some Destiny tier lists as well. But I figured we'd kick off because I do like the first Descendant. And we're going to look at a tier list based on the best Descendants, right? Where we rank them. Not only that, but I'm breaking it up into two parts. That's why we have two of the same tier list. I'm going to categorize the first one as your mobbing, your dungeons, your everyday gameplay tier list. And then we have boss fights, colossi, if you even want to say dungeon boss fights. So, and even like Void Reactor boss fights, those are even been nerfed. The dungeons haven't, but the Void Reactor boss fights have. So with that, we have S, A, B, C, D. S, I consider this is the best in slot. There's nothing better in my opinion. So you're not going to see like some with similar, unless they're really like neck and neck. But most likely S is kind of like the standout. A, this is your good characters. This is the ones that I would use. B is they're good, but they lack capacity. They lack the capability in some regard to really be A tier. C, this is something that like they're cool. Like they've got one or two things about them that are really good. Like I'll give you an example. I think of like Sharon. Sharon can be really good for infiltrations. Obviously you want to use her. She is capable of like, and let's just go to Sharon. We got Sharon. I would put her in C, specifically just the fact that mobbing, she sucks. Like I would never use her for like dungeons and stuff like that, but for like infiltrations, she is currently the only one that can do that. So she feels a need. D is kind of like, why bother? Why would I ever play her? By the way, this is mobbing. I know that Sharon has a niche to solo certain things, but would I ever bring her in Gluttony? Probably not, because you have Glay. So again, I'll explain my reasons for the Colossi fights. But for mobbing, again, Sharon's great for infiltrations. Nothing else really, in my opinion. She's fun, but I feel like she needs some buffs. Now, let's just get this out of the way. There are certain Descendants that I have not got my hands on, but I have looked at what they do and just overall the popularity in the community as well, whether they're actually like worth using. And when it comes to mobbing, there's just like there's going to be a lot in D. I'm just going to be honest. There's going to be a lot in D. Starting with Esmo. I don't know like how this has got to be the character that no one talks about or cares about. He is such bottom of the barrel of like any character. Like I can think of I can think of other Descendants that can do a better job at mobbing than him. Again, mobbing, this is going to be controversial. I think, and it's going to be completely different when we get to Colossi. So just, if you're upset about my choices, let me explain. I think Yujin is C tier. There is currently nothing in the game, in my opinion. Maybe when we have the Uber dungeon, but as it stands, there's nothing in the game that Yujin is needed, like for mobbing. Just there's no reason you need healing. You literally, I don't think I've ever needed to be really healed unless I'm being stupid or doing something stupid, but I've never relied on a healer during dungeon. In fact, I usually do dungeon solo because it's better to do solo than it is as a group, which it used to be solo. So that tells you the thought process of the developers when they created the game. And Eugene, whatever you want to call him. Luna, I think she's cool. I know she can be tuned to be able to be used for ad clear. but she's just a weaker bunny. Like, or Valby, even Valby, I think does a better job. And her buffs, just again, just like Yujin is not needed for ad clear, for like healing, buffing is not necessary here. It's just really not necessary, as these supports lose anything. Now, I'm going to put Ajax in B tier. He's not the best, but you can focus on his more damage-based abilities, his repulsion, his slam, and you can really build into that fantasy and make him just this all-out brawler, which can do more for ad clear, but he's kind of like in the middle of the pack. Like he's tanky, so that means you can take him into dungeons and mobbing, and he's going to survive because you can have high defense, high HP, and you can actually kill things using his repulsion and slam. His bubble is kind of useless in dungeon and mobbing unless you're like holding the fort in a like objective, I guess. But outside of that, like his bread and butter is the fact that he's not going to die. He's a tank. And the fact that he can use this repulsion along with his guns. So his kit is a little bit more flexible in what he can do compared to our others. Again, I know people are like, but she can clear ads better than Ajax can. Ajax, again, survivability and the fact that you just sometimes just need to use your guns. And I would rather have a tanky boy and use guns than someone that's not tanky and does a subpar ad clear. My opinion. Plus, she is so unforgiving on her setup when you're trying to do the dancing, like setting up for her. And then during those animations, you don't have invincibility, so enemies can just slap the crap out of you. It just doesn't feel good. So if they ever fix that, where she has some, and during some of her animations, she has invincibility and she's just not being clobbered by enemies, I think she would be better. But the fact that you can have a tanky boy with no setup outside of just modding, I think is better. Lepic, controversial take. I think Lepic, even though he is the shining star of bossing, I think he can do well in ad clear. And if you focus on his 1 and his 3 gathers everything up. His 1, you can just keep throwing nades. It's fun. It's good. It's not bad. The problem is you really have to try to reduce the cooldown of his 3 to get anywhere. But I mean, being able to collect everything across the map in one area, and you can throw grenades, or hell, you can just use a gun like Thunder Cage to ad clear. That's not bad. Like I would even put him like, I would say B+ for the fact that he does a little bit more ad clear better than even Ajax, because his abilities actually literally gather enemies into one pocket area instead of having to shoot them individually. Valby. I'm going to say Valby is good. One, her mobbing. She is the breadwinner when it comes to making gold. Like Valby Run was notorious because of Valby. And even using her, she is good. She's not the best, but she is really good for killing ads and just dungeons. Like she's safe. She has DR, damage resistance, when using her moves, like her little it's based off laundry, like clean up, all that stuff. It's like, who names this stuff? But when she starts surfing around on the water, she has like 50-60% DR damage reduction, which is pretty huge. So just on that front, and she has her mod Supply Moisture, which allows you to do crit damage up to like, I think 60%. I think someone said you can mod her up to 70%. I don't know. But the fact that she can also buff herself to do more damage while also being able to kill ads, she's double dipping, and I think that's amazing. Now, do I like her kit? No, I don't. I think I truly don't overall enjoy her. If I were saying like enjoyability of the player, I would put her in D. I think it's really boring, but I have to recognize that she is pretty good. Viasa. I think the way I've seen her for like mobbing, I mean, she's good for stationary, and right now she's being used for a very niche situation. like for XP farming. She's the pinnacle XP farming route right now. If you go to what is it, Vespers? You go to Vespers and then you go to the corner and use the chill fragment farm, and you can instantly level up within like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, depending how fast you're going. Like you can synergize really quick. So for mobbing, she has a very niche pocket. You can argue in the comment section below, but I mean, I don't think she's doing like maybe even B tier, but I feel like a lot of her stuff, you have to be stationary. Whereas these two guys up that are middle, they don't have to be stationary. And I think anything that requires you to stay in one spot when you're mobbing or you're trying to move through a dungeon, like, I don't think it's nearly as good. Now you could argue, you know what, for argument's sake, I'll put her in B, because there is a lot of encounters in dungeons where you do have to like hold the point and you have to capture a point, and then you can also use the big O AoE attacks during bosses. So I'll give you that. I'll say she's B. Enzo, I'm gonna put him in A. One, because he gives you turrets, so you can move around and kill things with turrets, but also gives you like 100% crit uptime with his build. If you build into him, 100% crit, and if you're critting things, you're killing things faster with guns. So Thunder Cage, 100% crit. Using Greg's reversal, that's just free. Like the fact that he can move around and just use guns, and he's getting crits, and he's supplying people with ammo. And ammo is a big thing. If you just keep looting, you just literally can loot and shoot, and you don't have to stop to worry about ammo. Like, that's huge. I think that's really huge. Freyna, I think she's A for mobbing. Mobbing, Contagion is really good, and they did buff her. I still think she needs a little bit more buffing, but overall, like when you build into her Contagion, she just poisons, and you can hold down points. Now, are you gonna have a lot of areas where everything's like condensed and you can really focus farm and have poison everywhere? To a certain extent, but if you build into her range, it does carry a lot of the field, and you can chip and kill a lot of things pretty fast. I like her kit. She's probably, if you're gonna ask me who's my favorite, Freybe. Like I'm gonna have to stop myself because I might low-key spend $100 on her ultimate form, because my god, I love Freyna. She is so fun. She's the first first Descendant that I actually spent a lot of time building into and experimenting on my own versus like copying other people. Now everyone pretty much came to the same conclusion, I think, about her for her Contagion build, range, crit damage, all that jazz. But overall, like, yeah, I think for what she does, is it the best? No, but she does really good crowd control, and she's really really fun, in my opinion. Glay, like, I feel like if I put Enzo up here, that she has to go up here, because you can, well, maybe she is S tier. Maybe Glay is S tier for mobbing in dungeons, because she has essentially what, infinite ammo? Like, she just goes around blowing things up with rockets. Like, who cares about enemies when you just blow them up with rockets? Like, this is the one time where you want rocket Glay, right? Run around, just blow everything up. Just literally, just who cares? Blow the boss up, use rockets. I mean, when it comes to just solo using guns, I think there's no argument to say that she's the best when it comes to just strictly using weapons. I think she's the best. When it comes to Blair, dude, he has potential. And you could say, like, I know I've seen some builds like his fireball, but he's so boring. I want him to be good, but like, I feel like Lepic with his 3 and his 1 is more effective than Blair. I feel like the flexibility of having Lepic to be able to move around versus Flare, where, yeah, you can throw fireballs, but I don't like his 1. His 1 is so boring when it comes to, like, yeah, we can argue in the comments. Maybe he's a C, but I don't like Blair. What do you even do? besides act like a Titan from Destiny 2. You're just running around shoulder charging. Now, when he was glitched and everyone is using him, obviously he was S tier, but it feels like another character that is like, what does he do for mommy? Like, what does he really do? Jaber, he has a build. I think he needs a little bit more love. I think he's okay. I don't think he's garbage, but we're gonna leave Jaber in C. And of course, the Queen Bee. In fact, I would put her S++. Everyone knows Bunny is the best mobber in the game. If you don't know, she is. You can build my build. I have her literally do like 1 million damage to everything. Like, I know there's builds with people running around with like infinite sprint. Like, who needs all that crap when you can grapple around midair? Spin to win is what I call it, and just murder everything, doing millions of damage, and you don't have to shoot a single gun. Now, whether you think that's fun or not, that's your choice. But we can agree that if you can just nuke down dungeons and mobbing, void reactors, like everything in the game, essentially outside of Colossi, you can just one-shot nearly. She is the premium mobbing Descendant. There is not a single Descendant in this list that can compete with her. Not a single one. Her range up to 27 meters. The fact that she can, each bolt with her high voltage build can do a 1 million damage and just one shot everything as soon as it spawns. Shoot it, literally can blow things through walls. You may be going through a dungeon and haven't even went around the corner and she's already killed everything that spawned because it goes through walls. It goes through under the floor. It goes above the ceiling. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She will murder everything you love and care about while sitting on your face with those double D cheeks. We're eating good in the neighborhood. That's called eating fresh. Okay. There it is. There is the mobbing list. Now I could end the video and be like, hey, there it is. There's the mobbing list. I think this next one's going to be pretty quick. I think B. I think she is S tier, but I think people fall into the trap that she's so good that she's S tier. But I would say there's like maybe, I would even say C, but I'm being generous to B because even in bosses where she's not weak to, at least she can help with killing trash ads. But overall, would I ever stick around with a team of bunnies during Gluttony? No, I would immediately leave. And most people who play Bunny don't know how to play her during bosses or are stupid and just run up to a boss and get slapped because they think, oh, I'm just gonna run around and do the thing. Also, Bunny makes things go frenzy much quicker, kind of like Lepic, but she does less damage. But in certain bosses, like the Obstrucator is think of what he's called, and he has all the orbs, like she solos that boss. That Colossi gets his cheeks clapped with a bunch of bunnies. Like that frenzy mechanic is a joke because you can literally stand underneath the portal and they never come out. With a high voltage build, like they literally just destroy it. So if you're struggling with the Obstrucator boss fight, literally Bunny is your gal. But I think I'll put her B. She's not the worst, but she's absolutely nowhere near the best. And people need to stop leaning on her during boss fights. Just stop. Frost, like, don't use her in Frostwalker. Don't use her in Gluttony. Like, my God, she's not that good. Jaber, D. All right, Yushin, S tier. Now, there's a caveat here. About maybe 80%. 80% of Colossi fights, you don't need him. The other 20%, like Frostwalker, Molten Fortress, Gluttony, he is fantastic, especially the harder the boss hits you. Absolutely, the fact that he will keep you alive. That means that I think when I see a Yushin on my team for Gluttony, I'm okay with that. Like, literally. I'm absolutely A-okay. So if you want to be the best support in the game, yeah, Yushin is the premium. Outside of that, Enzo. Listen, Enzo turns himself also into like a DPS machine when it comes to Colossi. 100% crit, and you're buffing the team. More damage is fantastic. Like the synergy here, two fantastic supports. You get these two guys on your team, you're not only not going to die as much, but you're also going to be cooking the boss with a lot more crit damage. I don't know, like, what are you doing? Same thing with Kyle. What are you doing? I'll see, like, she has her moments for like those fire type, but I mean, honestly, I'm not impressed with Viesta. Lepic, obviously S tier, nukes bosses. Enough said. We all have seen it. We know. Luna, she's C. She does buff people, but I feel like outside of maybe Gluttony and maybe Molten Fortress, she's really not needed. Like, especially when you have Enzo. Like, who needs her when you have Enzo? Because especially as you go up, ability damage is not necessarily as important unless you're running like a whole team of Lepics, in which case you're not going to be wanting a Luna. You're just going to want more Lepics. Yeah, I mean, overall, like she needs a lot of work, and it's a lot of setup, and you're wasting time during a boss fight, and you're trying to stay alive during a boss fight to get her set up. Just not that good. Same thing with, I'm going to put him in B. Listen, there is no shot I would ever use Ajax in a Colossi fight, because one, the earlier stages of a boss fight, like for bosses, they're weak. Ajax isn't needed. Now, when you get to like Molten Fortress, I'm not really going to be relying on him because the fire's coming out of the ground and it's still going to hit you through his dome. Gluttony's going to one-shot you through the dome. It just doesn't matter. I've never seen Ajax actually be viable. I would rather have an Enzo or a Yujin than an Ajax. In fact, I'm putting him in C too. Like, he's not needed. Like, he has a kit that's just not needed. And even when you're up in those higher tiers where you think he would thrive, the bosses just shred him, and it sucks. Glay, S tier. Again, infinite ammo. And I'm going to say with snipers and Python and Greg, like, she can do damage. For the love of God, stop clutching on rockets during Colossi fights. If you're solo and you can one-shot it, that's great. But when you're with a team, stop using rockets unless he's stunned or something. Like, for the love, you're just sending the boss into frenzy and you're not doing enough damage. But outside of that, if you people who use her right, you're going to shred the boss. Valby, A tier. Again, she's kind of like in the middle of the pack. She's not the best, but she does add crit. That's why she's underneath Enzo. And she can also apply a debuff that lets Electric do 30% more damage. And she is the premium. If we're talking about for like Gluttony only, she's like the premium like support and hybrid of DPS. But I made a complete support build with Spiral Tidal Wave to be able to direct the balls for the frenzy mechanic. She's really, really helpful for that. Sharon, she's very niche. I mean, how many like one-shot devour kills have we seen from like all these Descendants? I'm not impressed. Like, oh my God, Sharon, she's so great. Yeah, I don't see very successful teams with a Sharon. So sorry. No, it pains me. I think B, and here's why. She can deal with types that are weak against poison with her 4. You can build strictly into her 4 and it will do a lot of damage, even to into bosses that are weak against her. Like, if you make a kit specifically to her cooldown, into her damage, you build everything into her 4, she can be a bosser. But is she like A tier? I don't know. Like, for all the work that you put in for just her 4, I feel like Enzo just buffing guns is just like, who needs a 4 when you can just buff and do guns, or have infinite ammo Glay just like bah, 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 with snipers? And yeah, just overall, I think this is the tier list I would put them in. I don't think that, I mean, outside of D, which I would say maybe are trash, I wouldn't say that anything like in C or B are necessarily trash. I just feel like they need a little bit more love to be competent. Whereas B, like, they have their moments to shine. But would I use them in like every scenario of a boss fight? Absolutely not. Whereas these top S and T, A, you can take them into every single Colossi fight and you will be fine. Even Pyromancer, like Pyromaniac, I mean, just dies. Even Molten Fortress dies to a bunch of Lepics if you synergize and you, like, yeah, right? This obviously could change. This is preseason. This is my preseason list. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. As always, hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel as always. Until next time, game out.